Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Celine and today I'll be sharing a knitting podcast. This is actually the first real knitting podcast that I filmed. The first one was a special episode. It was everything I knit in 2023 and it was actually my first video. It was quite long, so I still consider it a podcast, but this one will follow the traditional structure with my finished objects, my works in progress, and my yarn acquisitions. I actually have loads to show you. I'm particularly looking forward to sharing the yarn acquisitions. I think they're quite special. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm going to show you my finished objects first. I'll include those that haven't been featured on my YouTube channel yet, so you've not seen them anywhere except for my Instagram. That's where I post stuff more in real time. The first finished object is the simple knit hood by Sysleriget. That doesn't really look like much when it's flat like this. I'm just gonna put it on so you guys can see. Here it is. It's literally the cutest little hood. Obviously I'd adjust my hair. This pattern is literally what it says on the tin. It is an all over stockinette stitch hood. It is finished with I-cord edging on the face opening and at the neck. You cast on at the top of the head to create sort of an invisible seam, and then you kind of work in a U shape back and forth. So you start at the top, create increases, and then some decreases at the face opening as well. Then you later join in the round underneath the chin, knit a couple centimeters of that, and then bind off with an I-cord. I've just popped it back on so I can truly show you why I love this design so much. So it is obviously great as a hood. That's kind of the main point of this. But then, say when you transition from outdoors to indoors, you just pop it down and it is the cutest hood, so you can kind of transform whatever you're wearing into a cute hoodie, and you have that neck coverage, which I always seem to be after. Obviously balaclava style headpieces have been so popular in the last couple months, but none of them actually called my name until I saw this hood version. This is such a quick knit. I worked this up in 2 days because the gauge is 16 stitches, so I held a DK and a lace weight together and it's starting to hail. Oh dear. It's hailing. I'm sorry, you need to see this hail. Yeah. I held a DK weight yarn and a lace weight yarn together to create a worsted weight gauge. Overall, this pattern was really easy to follow except for the cast on. I was a bit confused reading the first directions, so I headed to Ravelry and a lot of people were having the same issue. And on there I found a tutorial from this lovely lady who just shows you how to cast on, so I'll make sure to include that in the description of this video too. Once that was out of the way, it was extremely effortless to go through the pattern and I 100% recommend it. I think it's also quite good for a beginner, granted after you watch that tutorial for the cast on. But yeah, definitely my favorite feature is that indoor outdoor transition where I don't actually have to take it off. I can literally pop it off my head. Unfortunately, it's already gotten a bit too warm to be wearing this despite it hailing 2 minutes ago, but you see the sun is back out, the UK. So I've only worn it a few times and I'm very much looking forward to next winter where I can get this out again and wear it religiously. The other reason why I'm absolutely obsessed with this piece is the yarn that I used. You may recognize this from my Unravel vlog that I posted a few weeks ago. When I was at that yarn festival, I grabbed some yarn from the Camel's yarn and I mentioned in the vlog that this was my plan for it. And I actually casted it on maybe like 2 days after I filmed that. So this is their Superwash DK Merino, held with their Suri alpaca lace in the colorway Pebble Beach, which has this gorgeous confetti-like variegation on top of this neutral yarn base. I love the drape that these two strands have in this gauge. I think it's perfect. I would love a sweater entirely made out of these two. Wouldn't that be so gorgeous? Since the Merino is superwash, it did stretch with blocking, but I don't think that is too big of a problem when it comes to a hood like this. The yarn was so smooth on my needles. It was so enjoyable to knit this up and I kind of want to knit another one just talking about it. So that was the simple knit hood by Sysleriget. The next piece I'm going to share is actually a crochet bag. I've made this bag before. It's the Halina Bag by Mermaid's Yarns. This one I made for my friend in these crazy colors, so this super bright pink and green. Keep in mind this definitely needs a steam, especially on the straps. But yeah, it is such a cool bag and it has this amazing feature that it has adjustable straps, so you can wear it crossbody or you can adjust it into a shoulder bag. And then I also sometimes wear it as a little bit of a fanny pack situation like this. But yes, I just knew that my friend really liked this bag, so I thought I'd make it for her. This bag has a really fun construction. You start with a chain for the base and then you work the entirety of the bag in the round in one piece, so there's no seaming at all. Each of the straps is worked individually and you end each one with a little bobble stitch section, which I think is a super cute detail. This stitch is an alteration between single and double crochets, and I love having the two straps in the two shades. I think it's so cute. I've said it already, but I'll say it again. Magdalena's or Mermaid's Yarns patterns are so cool. They stand out. They're intricate but doable. I think she teaches a lot of intuitive crocheting with her pattern, which is something I've not seen anywhere else before. Even the PDFs of her patterns are amazing. They're just so fun. The layout is super interesting and different. They're just a treat. So I had loads of fun making this bag again. Hopefully my friend will like it. It was also quite fun using colors that I would never pick for myself. It just keeps things interesting. And I think this bag was a nice break from all the neutrals I've been working with lately. I guess the only downside of this bag is that you can't hold much in it, just because the straps are made out of double crochets, which are quite stretchy than say a single crochet strap. However, the fact that the straps are adjustable alleviates that issue. In the instance that your straps are really stretched, you can just kind of tie the knot higher up. I would definitely consider lining this bag. I'm just really bad at sewing, so that's not a very attractive idea to me, but I'm sure that would definitely help. And listen, worst case scenario, if you use this a lot and your straps stretch out ridiculously, since this is made bottom up, you can literally just undo the strap and then make it again. So I think that's not too bad. All in all, it's actually well thought out. The yarn that I used for this bag is the Drops Cotton Light in the shades 39 and 38. It's 50% cotton and 50% polyester. I think that's quite good for a bag. You can just kind of chuck it in the washing machine without worrying too much about it. This yarn is really splitty, so that's kind of annoying when you're crocheting. You can't draw through 3 loops in one smooth movement. You kind of have to do 1 loop at a time, which is annoying, but other than that, I like this yarn, especially for something like this. So yes, that was the Halina bag for my friends. So that was all for my finished objects. I actually have a lot of whips to show you, so let's get into those. The one I'm most excited about is my own pattern. It was challenging at first, but I feel like I've gotten a groove. It's not almost done, but it's at a good point. And it's a sweater. I have half of the body and 1 sleeve complete. I do have an idea for the name, but I'm not 100% on it, so I'm not going to disclose it. But this is a top-down seamless saddle shoulder sweater. It is a funnel neck and it's completely stockinette, so it has no ribbing on the collar at all. The effect that I wanted to achieve with this design is that from the front, when you wear it, you just see stockinette, barely any seams. From the top of the neck all the way down to the shoulders, it's just plain stockinette, and the only seam you'll see is here for the arm. I don't know if you can see that, but this is what the shoulder looks from the side. And I've included a special technique to avoid the stockinette from rolling. You might have seen a version of this design in my first video, but that sample is so different from this one that it's not even a good reference. The concept is the same. But yeah, I needed to unravel that yoke so many times trying to work out the short rows, but I think I got it. I'm so excited to finish it. So far, it's exactly what I intended it to be. Unlike most sweaters I've knitted that are in my wardrobe, this one does not have a crazy amount of positive ease, so it has more of that elegant and classic structure to it. Obviously had to go for bell sleeves because those are my favorites. I just can't get over them and I want them on every single thing I wear. I think the gauge on this is also 16 stitches, so it works up really quickly. I'm using a 5.5mm needle for this. The sleeve you can easily knit in 1 or 2 days. But yes, I'm very excited to be finishing this sweater in the next couple of days. Then I'll have to grade, and I don't even know where to begin with that one. That'll be a problem for future me, so let's put that aside. Another reason why this design is so exciting for me is that the yarn was sponsored by Beautiful Knitters. My friend Karen gifted me the beautiful Isager Eco Soft for this piece. I chose the shade E8S. This is 56% alpaca and 44 organic cotton, and I love that it gives this melange look in one strand, so you don't have to hold it with anything to obtain this beautiful dimension. Now, don't quote me on this, but what it looks like is that this strand is composed of the white cotton netting with the brown alpaca blown throughout. It is soft and luxurious. I love this shade. I have not knitted anything in dark brown yet. Like, how's that even possible? Brown has been my favorite shade for this winter. I love monochromatic brown outfits, and not a lot of people actually use brown. So guys, let's make brown popular again. I'm also quite chuffed that this yarn option is not that expensive. One skein of this is £7.50, so that's an overall £60 for the sweater, which is a really good price for the quality that you're getting. But yes, I guess I'll keep the rest of the details for when this piece is finished, but it was really fun to show you where I'm at with it for now. The next work in progress is my honey bucket bag by Petite Knit, which looks like absolutely nothing right now. This is the bottom of the bag. I've actually tried to start the brioche, but I messed up, so I had to go back. I don't have a good relationship with brioche. I've done it once before, and that was probably like 2 years ago, and I've not done it since, and I can see why, because doing this one again, I'm just gonna have to like sit for a few hours on my own, no distractions, and watch a lot of videos, try to figure it out. It's crazy because I think on the Petite Knit website, this is a 3-star out of 5 difficulty, whereas say like the Ingrid sweater is a 5 out of 5, and I didn't think that was hard, whereas this one is already giving me so many issues. Also, if you're not a fan of DPNs, casting this on is so fiddly. I don't mind DPNs, so I didn't sweat too much while I was doing that, but I know I'll be doing that when I move on to the brioche. Once again, I'm using yarn that I bought at the Unravel Yarn Festival. So this is the Rauwerk 2-ply yarn. I'll put the shade name on the screen because I can absolutely not pronounce it. And this is the Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the shade Dusty Dove Blue. The pair of them create this lovely cornflower blue fabric. Petite Knit works this on a 2.5mm needle, but I'm going for a 3.5 for 2 reasons. I'm a very tight knitter, and then I don't have a 2.5mm needle. I mean, it's working out really tight anyway, so this is completely fine. Also, I'm not too fussed about gauge because it's a bag, it doesn't have to fit me, so that's okay. I guess the only issue is that I don't have much sense of how big this bag will be, so that'll be a bit of a surprise, but I'm down for that. I must say that a few rows in, after that really fiddly DPN situation in the beginning, it's quite enjoyable to work out the base of the bag. You create this really fun spiral circle. Also, quick note on my baubles and berries stitch marker. One of them actually already broke because the charm bit just broke off of the ring that it's attached to. But that's a shame because they're so cute. I think this Rauwerk yarn is really good to be using in a bag. It has more of that rustic feel, so some people might not enjoy it for a sweater. And I was really happy that I was able to pair it with this mohair that I had in stash because I had no idea what to do with it. So happy it found a home. I generally don't have much else to say about this bucket bag. I barely started it and it's already so hard. So we'll see where that'll go. I'll let you know in the next podcast or in the next few videos. The final work in progress I have today is this. Now this is crochet again, and this is the back panel for the Sweet Vai Cardigan from Moonchain. This is the second piece I'm testing for Amanda. I love her designs. They're so cute and princessy and fairy tale core. This is going to be a lovely cropped tie closure lace cardigan. It's gonna be so beautiful for the summer. I'm using my favorite summer fiber, the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the shade Putty. I've made it quite small, but that's because I know silk stretches so much and doesn't really bounce back, so I'm counting on that. I'm going to finish this back panel and then wash it before I head into the front panels and the arms, just in case. So as you can see, it's this beautiful flower design, which for some reason I thought was going to be easy. But honestly, I am so excited to have this garment finished. All of Amanda's designs are so up my alley. The pattern will probably release like end of April, beginning of May, so it'll still be a while. But I recommend you put this in your summer list because even just one little rectangle of fabric is so beautiful. Imagine the finished piece. I also don't have any white handmade garments, so this will be my first. It's the first time I use the pure silk to crochet. I've only ever knitted with this, so it's going to be interesting to see how this behaves crocheted up rather than knitted up. I wonder if the fabric will stretch the same. I also feel like white lace knit or crochet cardigans are going to be so popular this summer. I've just been seeing so many pop up on my feed. This will sit right on trend. So yes, that's the start to my Sweet Vai cardigan. I'm now going to move on to yarn acquisitions. I am so excited for this part. The first bit of yarn I'm going to show you is in this box. This is a kit from Kit Couture. I got it from Beautiful Knitters with my Christmas gift card. Big reveal. Ta-da! Just getting these out of the way. This is the yarn. I keep on referencing my Unravel Festival vlog, but I guess everything happened during that video. But that day I wore the Hirschholm bomber. The one in that video was actually a sample from the beautiful knitter's shop. I just enjoyed wearing it that day so much that I simply can't fathom the idea of not having it and not owning it. This is what this is. So when you open this box up, you'll find a little drawstring project bag and a mini drawstring pouch. Let's see what's in the big one. So first we have the pattern booklet. I think this kit comes in 2 colorways. Next we have a welcome and thank you card. We have a little swatch gauge measure card, some charts, a tapestry needle, Kit Couture tag to sew onto your finished piece, and a little chocolate, Summerbird Amber Organic Chocolate. Hazelnut. Thanks. And in the small pouch, you have buttons and a button band that you're meant to sew on, onto your jacket. But I'm going to opt out of this feature because I've seen how it looks and I'm not a fan. And I just like to keep my cardigans open anyway. I just like the look of that better. So I'm just gonna opt out of that and not use these. Then onto the more interesting bit of this box is all the yarn. So this yarn is branded Kit Couture, although you can read here, it's distributed by Filcolana. So there's probably a Filcolana equivalent. Let me actually look this up. Okay, so I think the Filcolana branded equivalent is the Peruvian Highland wool. In fact, this is called Highland. It has that same meterage, so 100 meters per 50 grams. I've never tried Filcolana myself, except for wearing that sample that one day, and I can say it peels like crazy. And now you're probably like, why did you buy this kit despite you knowing that bit of information? I just enjoyed that design so much. I didn't care. I've not had anything peel on me as much as that one, but I'm happy to deal with that if it means that I can wear that design because I loved it so much. That probably means that I don't necessarily recommend this wool unless you love the kit like I did and you just want to go ahead with a kit. So we have the shade 977 as the main shade that's going to be prominent on the back, and I think the ribbing is also knitted up in this shade. And then we have all the other colors. So this garment is a bit of a patchwork vibe. Despite the eclectic color palette that the finished garment will have, I found that it's so easy to style because you can just pair it with things that recall one of these shades and it really looks cool. A lot of people wanted to know what I was wearing when I was walking around Unravel, so I think that was a good sign that a lot of knitters were interested in the design. And just looking at these shades makes me so happy. Once again, it's getting a bit too warm to knit this, so I'm not sure when I'll get to it, but I'm happy to just look at all the yarn in the meantime. I think I'll get just as much satisfaction from that. I do predict that it is going to be very fun to work up though. I feel like this yarn, it gives me the feeling that it's going to be forgiving in the sense that it will make my tension look quite nice. Ooh, something really important is that it's going to be my first Intarsia project. I have no idea how Intarsia works. I've never seen any video of it, so I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. Hopefully it's not going to be too crazy. To be fair, I've not really knit in color work either. Yeah, it'll be a total first for me. I reckon it's going to be a quick knit as well. It's a worsted weight project, so okay, next. I feel so blessed for this next one. So I was talking to my friend Karen from Beautiful Knitters and I was telling her that I have a certain design in mind. I really want to get into designing this year, so I was just, telling her my plans, and she was so kind to gift me this new Noro yarn that she got in the shop to sponsor this design as well. So this is fresh off the shelf, newly released Noro yarn. It's called Kompeito and it has 35% silk, 35% cotton and 30% polyamide. This is what Noro calls their dragon egg skein, and I think in this colorway it specifically looks like a magical dragon egg. I chose the shade 1, which is this beautiful off-white base with, honestly, the rainbow scattered throughout it. There's every single color you can imagine in here. I guess the prominent variegation is given by shades of pink and purple. I've knitted up a quick swatch so you can see that purple and pink shining through. This is one of those yarns that does all the talking. I'm going to design a simple piece using this. It's going to be very appropriate for the summer weather. That makes me so excited for the new season. Just feeling the swatch, I can tell it's going to be a really soft silk and smooth fabric. it'll have such a lovely drape. So I'm very happy that I could get my hands on this beautiful new release from Noro. If you're a lover of the Silk Garden Sock Solo in the shade 01, I think you might really enjoy this one. It just has that Noro imprint that's so undeniably original and iconic. Obviously, I'm not the hugest fan of the polyamide percentage in the composition, but I guess I'll just take it as an added functional aspect of the finished piece. Since the garment I'll be knitting will be for the warmer weather, it might be good just to have that added polyamide for it to be more durable, since I'll be washing it more often. I feel like this year I'm really being moved by color. If you've been following me on my Instagram for a while, you may have noticed, especially when I started out, that I loved my neutrals. I loved my rosy, sage green shades, whereas lately colors have been calling my name, and funkier things like this dragon egg just make me so happy. And I promised myself this year that I was going to integrate more color into my knitting. So I guess this and the Kit Couture kit is just me keeping my promise. I'm very excited to be designing a piece of this. I think the yarn itself is just so inspiring, so I cannot wait to start. I've been mentioning the beautiful Knitters yarn shop this whole video, but it's just my favorite place in the city. And while I was there, Karen gave me samples of these two skeins that she had, but she's not going to use. Beware, they are quite crazy. They weren't meant to be a pair, but isn't this screaming pear? My camera died, so I'm just filming from my phone. Anyways, this is actually beautiful Knitters Camden yarn. This is the cashmere that they hand dye, but they couldn't sell it because the dye created this like blue blotch. Something happened in the dyeing process and they just couldn't sell it, so she gave it to me. And this is a sample that they had in the shop. This is the Brush Deluxe by, now I've heard someone pronounce this the way it's meant to be pronounced, but unfortunately I can't do that. I call it Sysleriget. I know that's literally not how you say it. So this is the Brush Deluxe or Deluxe. So it's 53% super baby alpaca, 34 silk, and 13 cashmere. And I'm thinking that these two make up for a very crazy pair, but I think I should use them together. I'm thinking one of those really trendy open gauge netted pieces where you use the two different fibers. It's unlike anything I've ever made for myself, and it's such a freeing feeling where I can just experiment with color, try something that my past self would have considered really crazy. It's just really fun. I have other things on my priority list, so I don't reckon I'll get to this anytime soon. I feel like this will be a really nice palette cleanser. I find myself needing a palette cleanser quite often where I just need to knit something so outrageously different and new that it'll bring that excitement back. I'm just really impressed with myself that I can even consider having such bright shades in my yarn stash. Also, cashmere yarn, alpaca, silk, and cashmere in this one. So soft. And that was everything for today's podcast. It was really fun to go all through the little bits and pieces. I hope there were some points of inspiration for you guys. Let me know what you guys think of the podcast format. I personally started watching knitting YouTube with knitting podcasts. I know I've been filming loads of knitting vlogs, but after filming this one, I think I should make it more of a regular thing. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for sticking till the end of the video. I'll leave my Instagram on the screen in case you want to follow my creations, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.